All right, so today we are diving into a topic that honestly has way more to it than I initially realized.
Yep.
The American shopping mall.
Yeah,
You've brought in like a whole stack of articles and notes on this.
I did.
And I got to admit, I'm kind of hooked already. This isn't just about like missing those cinnamon bun stands in the food court, is it?
Not at all.
Okay.
What we're seeing happen with shopping malls, it's really like this microcosm, I guess, of much bigger changes
Okay.
in our economy, how we design cities, how we even define community in like this digital age. It's a lot.
Yeah, no, and what's crazy is the timing of it all, right?
Right.
It's not like malls or some like ancient history we're digging up here.
Right,
This
yeah.
is like happening right now.
Exactly. And there's this irony, right? Because some of these articles mention how like the very first enclosed mall, I think it was Southdale Center, opened in 1956
Okay.
in Edina, Minnesota.
Got it.
So picture it, right? You're in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Climate-controlled shopping.
Yeah, that's huge.
Revolutionary.
Yeah.
But it was more than just that. This was like peak American dream in
Yeah.
action, right? Post-war boom happening, suburbs are like exploding everywhere.
Right.
And malls, they were the physical embodiment of that prosperity, like this is what we've earned kind of thing.
It's so strange to think that something that at one point was like the symbol of success, you know,
Right.
could within a few decades become almost obsolete.
Yeah.
Like I was reading one article and they had this quote from a mall developer back in the late 90s.
Yeah.
And they were basically laughing off online shopping, like as if it was nothing.
Right. Right. Seems wild now.
Oh, absolutely. It
Yeah.
just shows how much we, I don't know, failed to learn from the past sometimes. 'Cause
Yeah.
malls in their prime,
Yeah.
hugely disruptive. They wiped out those old downtown shopping streets,
Yeah.
like decimated them.
Oh, totally.
And now it seems like they're facing that same fate,
Yeah.
but on a much bigger scale,
As
you know?
And it's not just about like people buying stuff online, is it?
No.
It's about what those malls represented.
Mm.
Jobs, community spaces, even just a certain way of life.
Absolutely. Like, take the whole idea of the anchor store.
The article does a good job explaining that whole concept. Those huge department stores, your Sears, your Macy's,
Yep.
they weren't just stores.
Right.
They were economic engines. They brought in the crowds that all the smaller stores relied on.
And those department stores, they provided tons of jobs, right?
Yeah,
And often, like, with a real path to move up.
absolutely. A lot of opportunity.
So when those started shutting down,
Mhm.
it wasn't just about empty storefronts.
Right.
It had a real impact. Do the articles get into the actual numbers at all?
They do. It's pretty significant.
Yeah, I bet.
One cited a study, and they estimated that anchor store closures led to, like, hundreds of thousands of jobs lost.
Wow.
And a lot of those held by women, too.
That adds a whole other layer to this whole thing.
It does.
It's not just about missing them all. It's about the real consequences of them going away.
Precisely. And it makes you wonder, you know, as we move into this new era,
Yeah,
what happens to those people? How do we make sure they have opportunities?
that's a good question. Okay, so we've talked about the rise and kind of the fall. What about this idea of malls being reimagined?
Yeah,
The article mentioned them becoming more like mixed-use spaces.
right.
What does that even mean?
It's a fascinating thing, really, when you start to think about it. Like
Yeah.
mixed-use spaces, they're all about getting rid of those old barriers, you know, instead of
Right.
just this like giant building dedicated to just retail, retail, retail.
Right.
It's more integrated. So you've got your apartments, maybe some offices, even like healthcare places woven in with the shops and restaurants and community spaces. It's a whole different vibe.
So less about going to the mall to buy something and more about just like existing there.
Exactly.
Oh.
Think of it like those old town squares, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
a central hub for everything creates a sense of place. It's a destination, not just a transaction.
And are there any malls actually doing this? Like, is this really happening?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There was this great example. I think it was in that one article about the mall in Ohio.
Yeah.
The one that was really struggling. They turned it into a community college campus.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah, they kept some retail, like for student services and a bookstore, but mostly it's classrooms, labs, even a library now. Apparently it's packed all the time. Students and people from the area.
That's kind of beautiful in a way. The mall, once the symbol of like just buying stuff,
Right.
becomes a place for learning. It's kind of poetic.
It really is. And it gets at this idea that maybe the American dream, what it means, is changing too.
Also,
Well, maybe it's not about just owning stuff anymore,
okay.
Maybe it's about access. Access to education, good health care, to these vibrant shared spaces where people can connect.
It's interesting how it all ties together. It reminds me of something else we saw in here. One article used this term, the over-mallification of America. I got to admit, that one threw me for a loop a little bit.
It's a bold statement,
Yeah.
right? I think what they were getting at is the mall model. It worked, obviously.
For a while, yeah.
But it was almost too successful. We built way too many, too close together, like flooded the market. So then when those big anchor stores started to go,
yeah.
the whole system was shaky.
Makes sense. Like those huge department stores, they were made for a type of shopping that just isn't as appealing these days.
100%. You think about those long aisles, right?
Yeah.
Meant to funnel you past every single thing possible. It was all very intentional.
Right.
But now,
Yeah.
that same instant gratification you used to get from wandering around, you can get that online in 2 seconds.
So, I mean, how do you compete with that? Can you?
$1 million question, isn't it?
Yeah.
But remember what we were saying about this craving for experience, something you just can't get digitally. That's where I think the real potential is.
And some malls are catching on to that, right? Like,
Yeah.
you see farmers markets popping up, concerts, art installations even. It's like they're trying to recapture that community vibe.
Exactly. And it's more than just like adding a couple events here and there.
Okay.
The malls that will make it, they've got to curate these experiences, make it something truly unique,
Yeah.
something that draws people in and makes them want to stay. So pop-up shops with local makers, interactive stuff, maybe even like co-working spaces to build that sense of community.
It's almost going back to the roots, isn't it? Like, we forget, malls were once seen as cutting edge.
Totally.
It was where department stores could reach more people, try out new ideas.
Right.
And now you see that same energy coming from these smaller independent businesses setting up shop in malls, giving these places new life.
It's cool to see.
It is.
Yeah.
And this is all happening alongside, let's be honest, the rise of e-commerce, which isn't slowing down.
Yeah.
One source even said online shopping has basically given us access to, like, a limitless selection of products
Yeah.
from our couch.
True. That is the reality. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Convenience isn't the only thing that matters to people, right?
Right.
We are social creatures.
Yeah.
We crave connection, shared experiences. And as good as online shopping gets, it can't totally replace that feeling you get browsing a cool store.
True.
Or the joy of actually talking to a passionate maker at a craft fair,
Yeah, and those are things we take for granted.
We do.
There's a different energy just being in a space where things are happening. You can interact with people, find new stuff organically.
For sure, for sure. And here's the thing. Some people see technology as like the enemy of them all, but it could actually make those real-world experiences even better.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so tell me more about this. How does technology actually improve the mall experience?
Well, let's say you walk into a mall, right? And instead of like trying to find that giant directory or walking around in circles,
Oh, that's me. Always getting lost.
you open up an app.
Okay.
It shows you exactly where everything is.
Oh, I like that.
Even points you to the right coffee shop based on your mood.
That's pretty smart. But we've already got apps for that kind of stuff, don't we?
True, but it's about taking it to that next level,
Okay, yeah.
More personal, more user-friendly.
Right. So what else? What's the next level look like?
Okay, imagine this. You find this awesome shirt, but they don't have your size.
Happens all the time.
You just scan the tag, right?
Okay.
And you can, like, customize the whole thing right there.
Oh, wow.
Using augmented reality, whatever you want, and boom,
Right.
it's at your door the next day.
So it's like blending the convenience of online with, like, actually being there.
Exactly. And it's more than just being convenient. It's fun.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Makes the whole thing interactive. Some places even have those interactive kiosks now.
Yeah, I've seen those.
Learn about the products, maybe do a virtual styling session, even chat with the designers.
It's like they're trying to bring those two worlds together, you know?
Exactly. Instead of thinking of them as separate.
Yeah.
And it lets them do some cool community stuff, too.
Like what?
Well, how about a virtual cooking class?
Okay,
Run by a chef from the mall.
right there.
Yep. Or, I don't know, a video game tournament.
Okay.
Projected on a giant screen out in the open.
It's crazy how much things have changed, even just a few decades, huh?
It is wild.
Like from those first enclosed malls being this like revolutionary thing
Yeah.
to now where it's all about tech and experiences.
It really shows how adaptable these places can be.
Yeah, it does.
And it's not over yet. Like, what we're seeing is evolution, how we shop, how we connect. It's all changing.
So, for everyone listening, I hope you're as fascinated by this as I am. We've gone from the birth of the mall to its potential downfall, and now this whole idea of reinvention. We talked about jobs, about community, about how tech is changing the game.
We really covered a lot of ground.
We did.
Yeah.
And the big question isn't if malls will survive. It's how. What will they even look like in 10, 20 years?
Right. Will they be these cool community hubs mixing the real and the digital?
Oh, yeah.
Or will they just fade away, replaced with something totally new?
Only time will tell, I guess.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, this whole mall thing, it says a lot about us,
Yeah.
what we value, how we live, how we connect. It's a story that's still being written.
Absolutely.
And I, for one, am really interested to see where it goes next.